Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to My Curvy Life with none other than your girl, Miss Fonda, coming to you on this lovely evening. I also bring you greetings from my co-host, Miss Latanya and Lasagna Jones. They are always in the social media area, making sure that you guys are loved. I appreciate all that they do. Guys, we are right around the corner from the holiday days with an S because Christmas and New Year's are considered holidays, guys. And so we are right around the corner. I hope everyone is enjoying their time off. Um, it's really crazy. You being a retiree now, it's like, I used to look forward to like having time off for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it's like now I, I got time off all the time. So, but for you guys that are going to be appreciating having the holiday season off, wonderful. Congratulations. Um, as a lot of you know, if you don't know, I am in the process of relocating. So I don't have any activities going on right now. But what I can tell you is that I am a Mary Kay consultant and I also specialize in skin care. So with that being said, that don't stop y'all. If you need any beauty needs in any cleansing for your skin, if you're looking for glamour, you want to step it up a notch for the holidays or thereafter for the new year. How about making a New Year's resolution that I am going to take better care of my skin? Well, that's where I come in and I can help you with Mary Kay Cosmetics, guys. So contact me if anyone is interested. I've been also offering some specials. I got some lip glosses on sale. I'm going to be adding some other things on sale. Let's get in shape, guys. Let's get this skin together. Our body and hand creams, and we have all kind of products that you can take advantage of. So contact me if you are interested. I am so excited because I do have a lovely lady that is going to be coming in on the show in just a moment. You guys know I always love all of my guests, and I thank them for being a part of the My Curvy Life show. So, I did want to mention before I bring in our guest, I'm going to read her bio first, though. If you are not a member of the My Curvy Life page, please join. I am shooting to get to 1,000 members. I think I'm at 894 right now, shooting for that 900 for every 100. I do have a drawing and give away a gift just to celebrate reaching milestones, guys, reaching milestones. So if you are not a member, please join. This is an inspirational group. This is information. This is if you need to be inspired, entrepreneurs, this is where it all happens right here on the My Curvy Life show. So let's go ahead and get our lovely guest in. Her name is Synetra Tony, and she is a proud Omaha native. She graduated from Benson High School in 1996. She holds a bachelor degree in elementary education. She holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education and a master's degree in counseling. Okay, she worked for the Omaha Public Schools for 16 years. I'm thinking about my job. I said Omaha Public Power, y'all. She worked for the Omaha Public Schools for 16 years here in Omaha, Nebraska. She currently resides in Dallas, Texas, where she is currently a high school counselor, okay, in the Dallas, Texas school district. She is a wife to Mr. Tony for the last 21 years. She has two lovely children. They are Shiloh and TK. And I know all of them very well. So I'm excited to go ahead and let her in on the show. Give me just a moment. Well, hello, lady.
Hey, Lady Fonda, Queen Fonda, as I call you,
Yes, and you know what I call you, my baby doll.
baby doll.
She's been my baby doll for years, guys. Welcome to the My Curvy Life show. I thank you so much for saying yes to me. This is an honor because you know I admire you so much in so many different ways. So welcome to My Curvy Life.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. This is a lot. I feel famous.
You are
I'm on
famous.
Queen Fonda show.
You are famous. You're very famous to me, girl. You're very
I'm
famous.
doing big things. You got me out here on these virtual streets,
Ah,
virtual platforms. I love it.
hey, you
Thank
know
you.
we gotta start,
Seriously.
but we gotta start somewhere, baby doll. So hey, I'm just starting. I'm starting somewhere. So I'm very thankful though. I'm so happy to have you on the show. You know exactly what you mean to me. But we'll get to that later. Um, Education. You're an educator, girl. You know, I admire educators because it takes a heck of a person to be an educator, especially for our youth today.
For sure.
So we're going
Mhm.
to dig a little bit into that. And if I could just start with, if you want to tell me a little bit about you, a little bit more about you and your stay there in Texas, if you'd like to do that.
Okay, absolutely. So, you kind of mentioned, you kind of alluded to it in the bio, but yes, I was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, class of '96, Benson High School. Went to Midland. At the time, it was called Midland Lutheran College when I was there, but it's since changed to Midland University. Graduated from Midland in 2000, and then became a teacher with the Omaha Public Schools. I actually did my student teaching there under the leadership of the beloved and late great Elmer J. Crumley. He was my first principal who I served under. He was amazing. I was at Skinner with him as the principal there. And anyway, kind of, I knew I wanted to be a school counselor, so I went back and got my master's degree. Went to UNO, obtained my master's degree, and even while I was working on my master's degree, I was able to obtain a counseling position. There was a partnership between the University of Nebraska Omaha and OPS, the district I worked for, where they would allow you to actually have a job as you're working on your master's degree. I had to have 6 credit hours completed in order to get that guidance teacher position. That's what they called it at the time. And so it was a blessing that I was able to simultaneously work on my master's degree and actually hold the counseling position. That's kind of unheard of, but it was a blessing. And so, anyway, worked for OPS for 16 years, 8 years as an elementary teacher, primarily fourth grade. All of my teaching was done at Skinner. And then once I moved into the counseling position, I was at Belvedere Elementary for a couple years as an elementary counselor. And then the opportunity opened up for me to be able to transition to the high school. And I was able to go back and work at my alma mater at Benson High School to be a high school counselor for 6 years prior to us moving to Texas. So, anyway, once
Oh,
I got here, I continued on. I went back to the classroom for a year and then right back to counseling. So this is year 26 for me as an educator, 26
oh,
years.
wow. Congratulations,
Thank you.
congratulations. I wanted to ask that all was just so amazing. I love, seeing the little steps you take to get to where you've gotten to now. Congratulations. That's
Thank
very,
you.
very nice. When did you realize you had the passion for working with the youth? Because, being an educator is normally working with young people most of the time, unless you,
Mhm.
become a professor at the college. But
Right.
working with the youth, when did you realize this was what you wanted to do and be?
That's funny that you asked me that because when you're young and when you're little, everyone says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" That's the question. And
Yeah.
I always said I wanted to be a lawyer because I wanted to be like Claire Huxtable
Ah,
from the
ah,
Cosby Show.
ah.
So I would
So
always
we
say
okay,
I
Bill
want to be a lawyer.
Goddamn. Okay.
That's what I said for years. Anytime anybody asked me, I was going to be a lawyer. But it wasn't until I think it was like my junior year of high school. I was in an organization, I believe it's called OJC. It was called um, On the Job. I can't remember what the acronym was for, but it
I've
was a
heard of it.
program that I participated in. I think I got involved in that program when I was an 11th grader. And so, anyway, I had an opportunity to go to some organization, and I remember that they had substance abuse counselors there. And so
Oh,
I started kind of getting interested, just, talking to the workers there and just the clients that they were working with. And I just really started really feeling a call for counseling. But just looking back at that, even though I said I wanted to be a lawyer, when I would be at home, Fonda, I always played school. Like I would line my I would line my Cabbage Patch dolls and my kid's sister, my Barbie dolls, I would line them up on the bed. And my teachers from elementary, I would always get chalk. That's when we wrote with chalk.
yeah.
And I would write on my closet, my sliding closet, I would write in chalk and I would play school. And so the end of the year, they would always give me their old supplies, so that I could play school. And that's what I did that, not really knowing that I had a passion for teaching. Um, and I remember in high school, you know how you have to do those interest inventories about, you they have a list of questions or statements, and then you
Mhm.
rate them. Like, yes, this is something that I would like to do, or no, this is something that I would hate doing. Every time I completed those interest inventories, I always scored high in education. Education and counseling was always at the top of the list. And so fast forward to junior year of high school, was part of that organization, went to a place, became interested in counseling, but then I just kept thinking about those entrance inventory. And so I went to one of the counselors at Benson. She wasn't even my counselor, but she was a Black lady. I remember her name was Judy Days D.
Uh-huh.
She was always in the hallway with the students. Everybody flocked around her. She was just this pretty Black lady that I just admired. And so one day I went and talked to her and I was like, how did you become a high school counselor? And so I was like, because I think I want to do that. And so she told me the steps. She was like, well, I have my bachelor's in education. You have to teach. At that time, you had to teach for a minimum of 2 years. But she said, but you also have to go back and get your master's degree in counseling. And so I pretty much just followed what she told me to do. I didn't know what I was doing, but that's how I got into education. And then once I became a teacher, my plan initially was to teach for 2 years, but I ended up loving being a teacher. I loved it. I loved the kids, loved my classroom, loved decorating for the year. It was just
That was my next question was, how did you enjoy being a teacher versus counseling? So, because it sounds like, you wanted to be that teacher because you said you lined all your baby dolls up and you wanted to teach. So how did you go from, wanting to teach to wanting to be a counselor? What?
So that's a good question. So I knew that to be a school counselor, I had to have experience with teaching first. And even though my initial plan was just to stay in the classroom for 2 years, I loved teaching so much. I stayed longer than I had initially intended. I
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed just having that group of students that I saw every day. Especially before I became married and had my own children, they were really like my kids. And they clung to me. I had a good rapport. I can honestly say that God blessed me with good classroom management skills, good rapport. I got along with the students. I got along with their parents. I was just able to really, really build rapport with families to the point where parents were requesting to have me as their child's teacher. And I will always say, load my class up in the beginning of the year. I don't care about having the most because I wanted to establish that. Probably around year 6 or 7, I started getting a little tired. I knew like it would, I just felt like this is my time to transition out of the classroom into counseling. And so that's when I, started researching on how do I get in school? How do I start working on a master's degree? And so when Shiloh turned a year, it was right after her first birthday. She had a big birthday party. And then the beginning of May, I started my master's, working on my master's degree, started taking the summer classes, and was able to complete 6 credit hours during that summer semester so that I would, and then that transitioned me right into a counseling position starting that fall. So it all worked out in God's timing, of course, but I knew it was time for me to transition out of the classroom into a counseling role.
Wow. Wow. So as a current school counselor, which you are now, what do you find most fulfilling about your job? What is it that fulfills you with being a school counselor?
So I get to I get to impact students on a totally different, level. Being out of the classroom, I'm still around children where I can help them, especially at the high school level. I'm helping them to think about, okay, what's next? Because you're not going to be in high school forever. What are you going to do next? What's your plan? So I get to help students, number one, to make sure they have what they need to graduate. So I
Yeah.
love like looking at their transcript, knowing, hey, you still have one more math class you need to take, or you still need to take a foreign language, or if this is what you're planning on doing in college, this is what you should be taking in high school as far as electives. So that's always fun, just having those realistic conversations with teenagers. Um, just because I remember, like, I don't remember, and this is no shade, I just don't remember who my school counselor was, but I do remember a school counselor helping me along the journey, helping me figure out what I needed to do because I had no idea. I had no idea how to fill out a college application, no idea how to apply for financial aid. And so
Mhm.
it's a blessing for me to be able to provide that information for students who may not know. So many of them come in here, they have no idea where to begin. And so I'm grateful to be able to provide that for them because I certainly needed somebody guiding me along as well. So,
So you can also kind of look at yourself as a mentor as well, where people come to you for advice, for direction. Um, I used to feel like, and I'm just going to go back into my day, and that's my next question. What does education right now look like compared to the past? You've been in it for a while, but I used to feel like counselors were, for me back in the day, I didn't feel like an initiative of push to do anything for the future. It was mostly to kind of keep you in order, keep you from getting in trouble and things of that nature. I don't really remember, like you said, you don't even remember your counselor. I don't remember my counselor saying, hey, do you want to go to college, or do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? It was more like, to me, more like to go and get, in some sense, reprimanded, or to get told you need to do this. It wasn't like, what about that future? So I like the fact that you mentioned that, you kind of give them direction in where they should be heading now that they're getting ready to, graduate out of high school. So
mhm.
yeah. Um, how does education look right now versus um in the past? Because you've been
Yeah.
in it for 26 years, you say?
26. Yeah, this is year 26, August. I started my 26th year. Yeah.
How was education now compared to when you first started with education? I mean, has it gotten better? Is it more programs, or is the direction a little bit different now that AI is here? And how has that changed down through the years?
So, okay, so I have to kind of approach it from two perspectives because when I started, I was a teacher. So, from a teacher's perspective, and I'm not a teacher now, so I don't know everything that has changed, but I'm also kind of speaking from a perspective from state to state because it can differ too. I started teaching in Nebraska, but I'm here in Texas, and so that looks different too. But I just remember when it was time for me to transition out from a teacher to a counselor, I felt, and again, this is no slight on anyone. I feel like this is just, the direction, from the government, the rules that we have to follow. I remember when I first started teaching, I had a lot more freedom and leeway to teach how I felt the students learned best. I could be creative with my lesson plans. Um, Sometimes if we didn't get to the math lesson or the spelling lesson, they learned life lessons that we that teachers really can't do now because we have a that has to be followed curriculum
Gotcha.
that has to be followed by a certain deadline. Like you only get 3 days to cover XYZ. You know what I mean? You can't veer off a lot. In some ways, that's good, but in other ways, it kind of stifles the creativity of teachers. And so that's
Gotcha.
probably the biggest difference that I've noticed. You just have to, and like I said, when I left the classroom, became a counselor, but then when I moved to Texas, I went back to the classroom for a year. And just the difference from me teaching there and teaching here, again, everything was very strict on you have to teach it like this, and you just didn't have a lot of creativity. I'm like, I know how to teach students. I know how they learn. Let me have a little fun with it, but you kind of gotta they want everybody doing it the same way. So
Gotcha.
that's a huge difference. The other thing so from a counselor standpoint, back home, our counselor to student ratio was way different. Like the state of Nebraska mandates for school counselors. So we follow the ASCA model, which is like the American Schools Counselors Association. And so counselors are supposed to be doing things that are specific to counselors' duties, right? And so we meet with students more. We talk to students more about mental health. Well, when you live in a state that doesn't mandate counselors, districts can decide how they use their counselors. And so sometimes we're doing a lot of how can I say this? A lot of tedious tasks like paperwork. Um, and we don't have a lot of time to actually sit down and meet with students, especially when it comes to their mental health needs. And so that's a huge difference too. And sometimes I think that may vary from state to state because I talked to and had a lot more time back home than I do here. And I think a part of that is, again, what school counselors are used for in the state and the district, but it also has to do with the number. There are like 2,800 students at the school that I work at, and that's just 10, 11th, and 12th graders. Back home, there was 1,200, 1,300 students. I had about 250 students to my name. Now I have over 500 students that I'm responsible for. So it makes a huge difference. We don't have as many counselors. Our ratios are crazy here.
Oh
And
wow.
so that's a challenge for sure.
Wow. So when you say a counselor, okay, are you um just an education counselor, or do you talk about, like, when you mentioned something about mental health, like what about children that are like troubled or
Mhm.
do suffer from mental health issues? Are you, licensed and available to handle those type of students, or is it just the education, or is it
So,
all around?
so that's a good question. My master's degree is in counseling. My concentration was school counseling. So when I went to UNO in Omaha, the program that I went through was a KCREP accredited program, which means it focused on educational counselors, but also community counseling, right? But I chose to do school counseling. And so my certification primarily focused on school counselor. If I wanted to, my degree though, however, that I had, if I wanted to pursue community counseling where I focused more on mental health counseling, I would have to go back and take a different type of test to become a licensed mental health counselor.
Got
So that's different. But my education and the classes that I took did equip me to be able to focus on mental health as well. But the nature of the job that I have, we don't have a whole bunch of time to focus on mental health. But in our school district, we do have licensed, clinical social workers. We have licensed mental health therapists in our school that if we have a student that has deeper needs, then we have time, the typical school counselor has time to address. We have someone that we can refer those students to.
Oh wow, okay. Amazing. I like that, and I'm sure there's people out here that wanted to know that information.
Mhm.
So wow. Um, I wanted to say this, okay, from what I know about you being here, as a native of Omaha, you built, such a community here. The youth loved you. You had a very good rapport, with a lot of the youth, that grew up, in the church that we went to, as well as you being in the public school district. Where you have you been able to rebuild that same connection there in Texas, since you've been there as well?
I would say yes. Particularly at the school, just working with youth. I feel like I still have that good rapport. Students still want to come talk to me, students still request to come talk to me, even though I'm not their assigned counselor. And so sometimes I have to, steer them to their school counselor so that I can take care of my assigned babies. But so I do feel like I still have that rapport as far as church. So when I moved to Texas, I don't work with the youth department at my church. When I got here, initially I said I was just going to take a break and just sit down and be fed by the word. But when you've been raised up and you have more in you, you can't sit down on what God has given you to do. So when I moved here, I primarily started working with the music department of the church, singing in the choir, directing the choir, being a part of the praise and worship team. And then that God blessed me to be the director for Voices of Grace, which is the name of the choir. And then eventually, God led our pastors to split the church up in divisions. And so one of the divisions was the worship and arts division. And so my pastor, he placed me as the worship and arts director here at the church. And so that was a that was a huge learning opportunity. I was telling the Lord like all the things that I didn't know how to do. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. I'm scared of this. I'm afraid of that. And God spoke to me and said, "This is not about what you know how to do, but this is what you will allow me to do through you." And so God blessed me with that opportunity to serve. A little later on, after I stepped aside, from that assignment, um, Carrie and I, my husband and I, were the co-directors for the young adult ministry at our church called The Bridge. That's the ministry that focuses on ages 18 to 30. And so he and I were co-directors for that for a couple years. I think it was 2 years. And then we stepped aside, and now we're both working as co-directors for the marriage ministry. And then I also serve on the executive team for my first lady. So I don't work with the youth like I did back home, but I certainly feel like, I love the youth and they love me too. So
Well, that's amazing. I always thought you had such a passion for the youth, and I know that's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have that calling to be in the youth area. So, what a blessing! I'm happy to see that you are still in the school district. You are still using your skills and your covering to do that. So,
yeah,
congratulations on that. I'm very, very happy for you, and I'm glad to see you, still thriving and striving.
thank
Um,
you.
I wanted to say, if you would, I always ask all my guests to answer this question at the end. And what I want to know, if someone were to come to you, hey, Synetra, I'm interested in being an educator like you. I'm interested in becoming a counselor or getting to the education field. What are some golden nuggets that you can leave with us that would encourage others to following your footprints?
Well, I would definitely I would definitely tell them to make sure that this is your passion. Make sure this is your heart, because being an educator is not for the weak. It's definitely not for someone who is looking to make money, because educators only receive a fraction of what we're worth. We educate doctors and lawyers and all the people that make way more money than we do. So this is definitely not a profession to get into if you're looking to be a millionaire, because it's not going
Get another
it's not
something else.
we don't have monies like that, but I will say to make sure that this is your passion, because um you want to be able to wake up and not regret going to your job. This is one job. Yes, I have my tired days where I don't want to get up. I just want to lie in bed. But this is definitely a job that keeps me, motivated. And even on the rough days, all it takes is for one student to just say, thank you, I appreciate you helping me with that, to make all of that frustration go away. So I would encourage anyone who's thinking about going into education, make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. Make sure that you love children, that you my when I first moved here and I got interviewed by a principal, I asked him a question and he said, do you love children? I said, yes, sir. He said, can you come to work with a smile on your face every day? I say, yes, sir. He said, can you forgive and move on, even if, that student has done something to upset you? I say, yes, sir. He said, well, you're in the right place. And so that's what I encourage you. If you can do those things, come to work every day with a smile, new day, love children, even though sometimes they can be unlovable. If you can do that, then education may be for you. But I will also say to do your research on what district you're planning to work for, the principal, because the leadership of a school can really, 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 really make or break your outlook on your job. You have to be working with the right leadership. You have to be working with people who are integral, who also love children, and who will support you, because this is a tough job, but it's very, very rewarding. I know that sounds cliche, but it really is a tough job. But the benefits of knowing that you've been a blessing to students and youth that need your guidance, your love, your support is you can't really put a price tag on it. So
I agree 100%. And I'm going to piggyback off of everything that you said. I want to say this: when you're young, you look up to those that are in authority above you. Um, I remember so many times down through my youth, there were good people that came in my life as a mentor, that came in my life as a teacher, as a counselor, that made a difference by the way that they treated me. It's important that you being looked up to, as an adult, as a teacher, as a educator, as a counselor. Those things are very important, and your passion pours out to the youth, when there's really the passion there for the youth. So thank you for being passionate about what you do. That is so important. And I look back over my life, and some of the people that were mentors and that I grew up with, as a child, and I could like look at them and have so much respect as an adult now. As a child, I had respect for them. As an adult, I'm like, man, I remember they were really nice to me. They really encouraged me. They really, spoke uh, life into me. So
Mhm.
I know that's you, and I thank you for being that light and having that passion for our youth and being an educator for our youth. Thank you so much for all
Yes.
that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. I want to thank you. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I want to say I appreciate you for coming on the show, for sharing with us, about being an educator, about the school districts, and we do miss you here, in our area. But I know you are doing wonders there just as well as you did here. So keep up the good work. I personally love you.
I know
Uh,
you do. I love you more.
Thank you so much. And thank you again, My Curvy Life. We're going to give it up for Synetra. I'm going to give it up for her, but I'm sure I'm giving it up for the rest of everybody else too. Thank you for coming on the show. I love you and I appreciate you. And you keep doing exactly what you're doing. My Curvy Life. Until we meet again, peace.